Nobody's perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect. No one gets it right all the time, except for me. 'Cause I am perfect in every single way. So you better listen to all I have to say about movies and books and God and religion, what you should cook when you're in the kitchen, and what kind of bait to use when you go fishing. I can run a mile in a minute. No, that's not right. See, I'm not perfect. I'll just keep going. I am an expert at playing a guitar, and I am an expert at driving a race car, and I can name each and every star. 'Cause I am perfect in every single way, so you better listen to all I have to say about music and history, theology, psychology, botany, phrenology, and even proctology. I will run a mile in a minute. Give me any demon, I will win it. Give me any topic and I will spin it. 'Cause I am perfect in every single way, so you better listen to all I have to say. If you want to know how wonderful I am, if you want to know how intelligent I am, if you want to know how modest I can be, just ask me. 'Cause I am perfect in every single way, so you better listen to all I have to say. Yay for me.
Good morning, and welcome to our sacred space. We are the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart, a welcoming community, encouraging religious freedom, nurturing individual, spiritual, and ethical growth, celebrating diversity, and promoting a just and sustainable world. I am Mary Perrin, and I am a member of the board of this congregation. Welcome to each of you.
Good morning and welcome to the worship service for Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart in Indiana. My name is Amy Kaliza DeBeck. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and it is my privilege and an honor to serve as the minister at UUFE. This morning, I want to remind you that next week is Mother's Day. It is a complicated, complex day, and however you choose to mark it, I hope that you'll tune into our service, which will be, as usual, on YouTube. May 16th, the week after that, 2 weeks from today, is our annual meeting. This is the time at which we choose to pass the budget, and also we see all the hard work that the nominating committee has done to fill all of the slates, and we affirm the slate of nominated officers and committee members that have been picked and presented. That happens after the service, and I'm still working on details. I think that the service is going to be on YouTube, and then the meeting will be Zoom, but there will be an announcement well before that day. I want to tell you, I'm not trying to be cagey, it's just that I don't have specific dates. I am working with the COVID task force and the board and the worship arts group and so many different groups to figure out how, with the great weather that's upon us, with summer coming, we are all working to figure out how we might have some outdoor safe activities at UUFE. As soon as we can figure this out, there will be announcements, and I can't wait to see you all. The last thing I want to say is, of course, for any of the people who are watching this or their loved ones, who are in the hospital or have been, who are sick or have been, for anyone who is struggling with mental health, which will be the topic of the sermon coming up in a bit. We hold you, and I hold you carefully and lovingly, and hope for better days. And the last thing I want to say about that is a very sincere thank you to the doctors, the nurses, the therapists, and everybody else who keeps us healthy in body and in mind.
Good morning. Our chalice lighting this morning comes from Paul Dotenhoff, a symbol of our shared faith. Joy and grief, health and sickness, light and darkness, peace and anger, life and death, wholeness and brokenness. We each bring all these things here to this sanctuary, virtually and in person, of unity in diversity, for this 1 hour of this one day, and pour them out, commingling the oil of our lives to become the flame of this chalice, the symbol of our shared living faith.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant.
Two, three.
Welcome to May, UUFE friends. My topic for today is about choices, the ones we have and how it feels when we are not given a choice, and the confusion and crisis that might come with either. Please believe me that choice is a bigger deal than we realize, and I'm not just talking about choosing whether to have a child or not. The feelings we experience around choice are important to us for our whole lives. Parents and other adults teach children about choices, and kids develop their own feelings about choosing. Some kids don't want to be overwhelmed by choice because making a decision is hard. I didn't say to my kids, "What do you want for dinner?" I would say, "Do you want this or that?" But some kids would feel upset, like, kids have no choice, and we don't want to eat that gross stuff that you call dinner, Mom. Whatever the case is, whichever way you view choice, having that choice matters to us throughout our lives. When we grow up, we find that maturity brings many lessons, including not only having more choices, but also being able to discern when we actually have a choice or not. How often did your choice get made for you because you didn't make a decision in time? How often do you question the speaker, interrupting to say, wait a minute, I didn't realize I had that choice. I didn't know that option was on the table. I do that kind of a lot. When we feel that we have control over our life, we get better and bolder about those choices. This growing discernment leads us to the development of when we understand that it works around areas of control. When we make good choices, they lead to us getting more control. Well, when we have control over ourselves, or sometimes even over a situation or two, then we make better choices. When we have no desire to control an entire nation, or maybe our cat, it still feels better when we know what to expect from ourselves. When we know how to decide, what to decide, when we can discern what we might lose, what we might gain. Along with choice and control comes knowing our own mind. Adults who know themselves, both their limitations and also their skills and superpowers, are able to exert control over themselves, even in terrible situations. Have you heard the expression that hurt people hurt people? It means that if we have made it to adulthood without knowing how to handle the pain we carry from our own experiences, the more likely we are to harm somebody else when we feel out of control. Just as a side note, I am not a licensed therapist. Every healthy minister I know has a therapist or coach or both, just to check in with, to remain aware of our own edges. I have both. I have a coach and a therapist. The next step, when we have figured out how to get control of ourselves so that we can act accordingly in situations and keep things going better, well, then we're going to have to live with the knowledge that we could actually choose to control ourselves. And we're going to have to live with this burdensome grown-up choosing all of our lives. And we're going to have to forgive ourselves when it doesn't go well. Choosing happens a million times a day. Do I drink coffee after 4 p.m.? Do I stay angry at my neighbor until they apologize, which might be never? Should I move to be near family, since we don't know what life will be like after, say, 2022? This next point that I want to bring up is really important. The best we can really do is to have control over how we manage outcomes. It's not like we actually have control over the outcomes. All we have is, how are we going to handle ourselves when the next thing happens? This is a really hard one to grasp. You know, when I started in ministry, there was a subject of study called conflict resolution. 23 years later, now it's conflict management. We could learn from this. So we study, we feel confident, we might go and take a test, we got good grades, we're all ready to get into the program of our choice, and then we don't get in. It's going to hurt. The best we can do is manage how we handle the outcome, especially when we cannot handle the outcome itself. We don't get to control that. The reason I'm talking about choices and control and all of this kind of heady stuff is twofold at least. First, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. NAMI, N-A-M-I, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, lifts up the challenges of mental illness every year in the month of May. As clergy, I've come to count on preaching about mental health in May. Second, when we at UUFE decided to forego indoor, in-person worship services for a year, we said that we would do that until at least May of 2021. Here we are. And this is not an announcement about worship changing. We are keeping worship online until there is an announcement. For me, mental health has more to do with framing life in the pandemic than anything else I can think of. There are studies on economics and on education, and none of that's going to happen if we don't have a grip on our mental health. In order for us at UUFE to have healthy, balanced time together moving forward, I believe that we would do well to look at the mental health aspects of how we've gotten through so far and what we might expect. So why am I talking about choices? What does that have to do with mental health or lack thereof? When we know ourselves and we know which choices are ours and which situations we have to just wait and see, we're going to have less stress over outcomes. We can enjoy better mental health. This pandemic did not consult with any of us how we would be moving through its spread. And then as it spread, it didn't consult with us how levels of government from local to international were to give us choices. In the midst of a deadly situation, it became hard to make any choices because nothing has been clear or certain. Some new things had felt like choices had been removed entirely, which we never like. Besides disliking change, I'd say almost on the same level, we don't like it when we don't have a choice, when we're told what to do. I'm thinking about things like businesses closing early or businesses closing up. I'm thinking about working from home and how it felt like a punishment to some and a blessing to others. I think that for most of us, it felt like both at different times. For most of us, there were times, maybe even now, that travel has not been possible, and this was not a choice, because it's not like we had to choose whether or not we could be safe. It's that the airlines and the trains simply weren't running. By the way, our national TSA, Transportation Safety Administration, was supposed to lift the mask mandate May 11th, or that was the most recent date that they had said they would reevaluate, was May 11th. And today on May 1st, we're under the illusion that it's Sunday morning, so May 2nd, they have extended the mask mandate for planes and trains until September. Anyway, another thing that we didn't have a lot of choice over is that shopping changed, like just the way we get our food even. shopping online and contactless pickup or delivery has also been a blessing and a pain. Think of the changes to life that came with the pandemic. Boy, there's been a lot. And now think about them in terms of choice. What was a choice? And which gave you only really the choice of how to control yourself or not? Because we didn't get a choice. It's been really hard. But I want desperately in this month of May to turn a corner, and I want you to come with me. About a year ago, UUFE's board made a choice based on data collected from the UUA, advised carefully by experts, and then announced by our UUA president, the Reverend Susan Frederick Gray. We at UUFE are not ruled by the UUA. We have congregational polity, which means that each congregation governs itself. It's not as though the UUA said this will happen. They advised us. The board made the choice to go with this advice from the president and to move forward with online services only. I think it was a great choice. Even though I think it was a great choice, it made a huge difference to all of us, even to this seasoned religious professional. I don't know if you knew this, but a sermon is really a conversation. I write things that I will deliver while looking at you and getting responses. Speaking earnestly to the camera, and Kevin is right behind it. Hi, Kev. Speaking earnestly to the camera is just not the same. And not getting to be with you in crisis feels terrible. Hearing the worry and concern expressed over whether our church will survive the pandemic makes me feel deep sorrow. I know that we will survive, of course we will, but I'm sad that there's so much pain having no control over the situation. May's mental health theme for 2021 is, quote, "Tools to Thrive," providing practical tools that everyone can use to improve their mental health and increase their resiliency regardless of their personal situation, end quote. So, the tool that I'd like for us to think about, to put in our toolbox, is choice. As we move forward together, I encourage you to think about the choices you have in life. Even when you're being told what to do, you still get to choose how to react to that. You still get to choose, how am I going to control myself in this situation? We all know how terrible it has felt to not be together, especially as we've lost some of our beloveds. We couldn't be together for our meaningful, heartfelt, homespun celebrations of life. It's been painful in ways I never could have imagined. But also, I've learned a lot, and I bet you have too. I want to share a thought with you that has carried me pretty far through this last year personally, but also it's carried me far as your minister. Here's the thought. A pandemic is an apocalypse, and we learn who we are in an apocalypse. In all of the dystopian movies and books where the world as we know it has ended, we learn who we are. The survivors' stories are about who found their resiliency, who found the truth about themselves, for better or for worse. And often the story is about the effectiveness of leadership or government. When we hold the mirror up in this apocalypse, and we look at who we really are, how does that feel? I'm going to answer my own question and tell you I feel great about us. We kept feeding people. We kept tuning into services, coffee hours, book groups, and even walks together in various parks. The campus was kept in good repair, both for the times that people are at church, but also with an eye toward when it's more than just a couple of essential volunteers. So then, who are we? And who have we seen in the pandemic mirror? We have the choice to honestly assess what has worked and what could be better at UUFE and in ourselves. Living in a new world, it is easier to simply do things differently because life isn't the same and likely will be different. Hopefully for more better than worse. Memories are lovely, but trying to recreate something whose time has gone by will just leave us feeling sad. Side note, in a meeting this week on Zoom, we talked about things that had seemed so normal that we can't even imagine doing now. And the example that made us all laugh, bobbing for apples. Do any of you ever cringe a little when you're watching a TV show or a movie where everybody is acting recklessly and carelessly standing close together without masks on? Who knew that we would ever notice that? The idea of bobbing for apples, of all these unmasked people reaching with their faces into a vat of water to bite an apple that maybe somebody else unmasked also. Anyway, it was very funny. But I digress. I am working with groups at church as we move to a new phase. Rather than thinking about reopening, I've thrown that word out the window in favor of the word hybrid. Reopening doesn't really work. First, we never really closed. I mean, I've been working every week. I know that you all have been using every Sunday to have the choice of experiencing this collective service together at whatever day or time we choose, knowing that it's going to be on YouTube. That's different. And the other reason it's hybrid and not reopening is that the building has been open for volunteers to handle maintenance and finances and the indoor food pantry, which stocks our outdoor little free pantry. We've never been closed. As for worshiping together in person, that's not going to be one big event. So I don't say reopening as if there's going to be some date where COVID just goes away. Worshiping together or meeting together in groups, it's going to happen in stages, in various ways, indoors and outdoors, more of a process than an event. It's helpful to imagine us moving from online to hybrid. Hybrid, rather than reopening, is more true to what life will be like, with no end date, really. Now that we know how to jump onto Zoom and speak to cameras or screens, why would we ever stop? We've been able to reach out to folks who moved away, people who have been curious about us but didn't come to the building, folks who are always homebound, not just during the pandemic, not to mention our Midwest weather that can make driving to in-person worship impossible. I do long for that future unnamed month that I get to be at 1732 Garden Street in the pulpit talking to you. But also I know that even when that day comes, there's going to be a camera or two, and maybe there will even be a screen so that people not with us can interact with us, not just watching us, but interacting. I don't know what hybrid is going to bring, but I'm excited about it. Hybrid, not reopening. So when we get to do these in-person events, are we ready to choose happiness? Will we be so sad at the differences in our new post-quarantine time that we're going to fail to enjoy being there? Could we get more efficient at choosing happiness? I hope so. Soon we are going to be more free to see each other. How will that feel? On a personal note, I have felt very excited every time I get to see any UUFE people live in person. Also, it's kind of weird because each time with each person, we review our choices. We might not always talk about it, but it's happening. Up here, we're thinking, mask or no mask? Hug or no hug? Do both of us have our shots? These choices symbolize more freedom for us, but also, it's a burden having all of these choices. When we know we have to stay inside, we know we can't see our friends. It's terrible. It's very bad, but also we know what to expect. So, what about when things get increasingly free with more hybrid options for connecting? What wonderful choices we have to look forward to. Friends, for this month, I encourage you to think about packing your toolbox with the healthy tool of choice, of noticing when you have a choice to make. Also, I encourage you to think about the new hybrid world and how we can be different but still happy. Thank you for being with us today, and I'm really looking forward to talking to you a lot during this month of May. Our closing is from Theodore Parker. Be ours a religion which, like sunshine, goes everywhere. Its temple, all space. Its shrine, the good heart. Its creed, all truth. Its ritual, works of love. Its profession of faith, divine living. Blessed be. Amen. Go in peace.